I'm TJ Johnson. I'm the board chair, the commission chair for South Carolina DOT. We'd like to thank Phil Paget for hosting today's board meeting. Thank you, Phil. And I'd also like to thank the county and the city of Charleston for hosting us as well. We've got a few elected officials that we'd like to recognize today. We've got with us today Mayor Will Haney from the town of Mount Pleasant. And also we have Representative Gary Brewer, representing Charleston and Dorchester County. If either of you gentlemen would like to have a few words, please feel free.
I guess I'll give the official welcome to the town of Mount Pleasant. Thank y'all for being here. Want to point out just some interesting things about our area. If you see the cranes over there where the terminal is, that is not in the town of Mount Pleasant. It's in our community, of course, and it's at the end of Long Point Road, but due to the weird things about annexation in our state and Charleston County and just the way things are, not get the battery over here. But I just want to thank y'all for being here. I hope those of you from out of town have had a chance to take in maybe Shem Creek or Patriots Point or the Pitt Street Bridge. Those are our three most hashtag photo places. Also want to confess that Kirk Spencer and I grew up on the same dirt road in Sumter, and Susan and I go way back. And Kurt has been telling stories about me for decades, and none of them are true. I promise you, none of them are true. But a couple of quick things. We had a little meeting before I came over here just to talk about what the priorities would be to give to y'all besides the welcome. And the main one is we have never had better working relationships with DOT than we have right now. And a lot of that is because of Justin, and I appreciate it. When we had ice on the bridge, I got text messages, and we also texted back and forth about how weird it was to have the hurricane damage in the mountains and the ice on the coast. And that was weird. And all the equipment was, on the opposite ends of the state. The other thing is that Mount Pleasant has learned good lessons over the decades about proper planning, because as you ride down, if you came up Wando Park Boulevard to get here, but if you'd stayed on Long Point Road and gone to the terminal, in its wisdom decades ago, Mount Pleasant put 3 neighborhoods right outside the gate to the busiest container terminal in South Carolina. That's not the way to do things. So all of this at the state level about concurrency and planning and all that is really good. And Mount Pleasant in its wisdom, when the Wando terminal was open in the early 80s, during the 70s, when it was all being planned, and some of y'all might have been around, said no rail. We will have no rail over here in Mount Pleasant. Boy, do we wish we had rail now to get those containers, off the roads and everything. But thank y'all for the planning and the work on the access road, the spur that will get the trucks off our neighborhood roads and everything and get them back on the interstate. And for working with us on a design for that flyover that was the least possible impact on some of our neighborhoods that are over here. That was a win for everybody, and we can't thank y'all enough. So welcome to Mount Pleasant. I hope you enjoy yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Vance.
Well, I'm a politician, I might as well say something, right? Thank you all so much for having us today. I want to thank the 2 best agencies in the state. I'm very, very close to both of these agencies. I think the world of SCDOT, I think the world of our Ports Authority. I think it's a great thing that y'all work together on things and looking forward to how things move forward for the state of South Carolina. At the end of the day, y'all got a heck of a job in front of y'all every day. Y'all are the only thing that every person in the state touches every single day, no matter what. If they don't leave their house, the electric truck that comes there to check on the wire has to drive on the road to be able to go to repair a wire if their electricity goes out. So every single person touches y'all's infrastructure every single day. And I don't envy y'all one bit. I tell you that. Y'all got the hardest job in the state. I thank y'all for everything that y'all are doing. I appreciate everything that y'all are doing. And I look forward to a great meeting. And Justin, thank you for everything you're doing. Your leadership's amazing. I enjoy the relationship we have with you and your staff as well, too.
Thank you. Phil, would you like to have a word or two?
Yeah, I'm Phil Padgett's interim CEO of the Ports Authority. I am not a politician, so I will be shorter. I just wanted to say welcome to everyone, and we also very much appreciate the partnership with DOT. I know we got a lot of exciting projects to work on coming forward. So welcome. If you need anything while you're here, feel free to reach out, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you. All right, at this time, it's 9:10. I'd like to call the September 18th, 2025 South Carolina Department of Transportation Commission meeting to order. Please remember to silence your cell phones if you haven't done so already. Due to a scheduling conflict out of town, Commissioner Rhodes was unable to make it and submitted a letter of absence. And also we have Vice Chairman Dukes, who's out of town on an urgent family matter and not able to be with us today. I'll call the roll of the commissioners present. TJ Johnson is present. Bill Dukes is excused. Pamela Christopher.
Present.
Max Metcalf. Present. Curtis Spencer.
Present.
Sil Hemingway.
Present.
Rick Blackwell.
Present.
And Thomas Rhodes is excused. A quorum is declared. Is there a motion to approve the September 18th, 2025 meeting agenda? Got a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Here, no opposition, the agenda is approved. If you would now join us in prayer by Sil Hemingway, and then I'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, since we will be following the prayer with the pledge, let's go ahead and stand. Let us pray. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for another beautiful day, a day that we've never seen before, a day that we'll never see again. Lord, help us not to miss any opportunities you put in our path to serve our fellow man. Lord, our country and this world needs prayer. We live in a broken world. And it all stems from the recurring event that's taken place throughout history where mankind turns its back on you and follows the ways of the world. We can only pray that our nation's leaders and our world leaders look to you to serve as that chief advisory council. As we convene this meeting, we want to give thanks for the resources that only you have provided this agency to be able to carry out their mission. We thank you for the financial resources. We thank you for the human resources. We thank you for the dedicated, qualified, experienced staff that we have. We thank you for the hundreds of frontline employees that are providing maintenance and providing construction work each and every day. And we just ask that you deliver them home safely each day to their family members. Lord, as we begin to make decisions today that will impact the functionality, the efficiency, the safety of our transportation system, we just ask that our decisions will be beneficial to the citizens of South Carolina and pleasing to you. We ask all of this in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry. Does anyone have any questions or revisions to the minutes? Is there a motion to approve the July 17th, 2025 commission meeting minutes? Hearing no opposition, the minutes from July 17th, 2025 commission meetings are approved. The next item is a report out. We now have a report out from July 17th, 2025 Audit Committee meeting. Audit Committee Chairman Spencer will give that report.
Good morning, everyone. The Audit Committee met July 17th, 2025. Internal Audit Services staff presented updates on engagement updates, purchasing card activities, disadvantaged business enterprise program, and management action plans. Additionally, there was an executive session to receive management information on security plans. No committee actions were taken. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions about or revisions to the minutes from July 17th, 2025 Audit Committee report? Is there a motion to approve the July 17th, 2025 Audit Committee meeting minutes or actions? Got a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Hearing no opposition, the minutes from the July 17th, 2025 Audit Committee minutes are approved. The next item is 7.4. Does anyone have any questions about the August 20th, 2025 workshop? Is there a motion to approve the August 20, 2024 workshop minutes and agenda or actions?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Hearing no opposition, the minutes from the August 20, 2025 workshop are approved. Public comments, are there any public comments?
Mr. Chairman, we have no one signed up for public comment.
Thank you, Secretary Powell. Secretary Powell will now present the Secretary of Transportation report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the commission. It is great to be in the chairman's hometown for this meeting and just across the harbor from my hometown of James Island from here. Want to thank Phil Padgett and the Port Authority team. I think Ashley Osmond's already stepped out, but she had a big hand on getting everything together. So really keeps things moving from there. You know, I think as we talked about yesterday at the briefing, there's a long partnership with our friends at the Port Authority in terms of delivering large projects, whether that is the port access road for the Leatherman terminal, as we get moving ahead for the Long Point Road project that's about to start getting underway. The procurement is going from there. So a long history of partnership together, the two major transportation agencies in the state. I want to thank Legislator Mayor Haney, Representative Brewer, also for being here as well. I want to echo the mayor's comments. It is a great relationship with us in the town of Mount Pleasant. Lots of good dialogue. Always you and your town administrator, Eric Demore, always accessible to us. So I appreciate that as well. So I'll get into the secretary's report for the month, and if you please let me know any questions as we go along. The first item we have as we start off with every meeting is our fatality count. Right now, as of September 5th, the Department of Public Safety has reported that we have 600 traffic fatalities this year. Again, a high number, but I think an encouraging trend we have seen at this point. At the same time last year, we had 692 traffic fatalities in the state. So we've seen right now so far a 13% decrease. I think a testament to the work that we're doing in terms of safety projects, but also a reflection of the enforcement efforts of our partners in law enforcement. On our vulnerable road users, again, we are seeing a very similar trend. At this point last year, we had 144 total vulnerable road user fatalities in the state. That's pedestrians, bicyclists, moped users. In total right now, we have 119 fatalities. So again, a 17% decrease. Again, something that we'll keep an eye on. All of this is reflected. Obviously, we are leaving the summer season, but we are entering deer season. We're entering holiday season, so where days are shorter and people tend to have a little more fun, travel more. So hopefully we will keep those trends going forward as we move forward, but something that we're right now encouraged, but still 4 more months for us to go. Our work program stands at $6.5 billion in terms of outstanding contracts. That's actually ticked down a little bit since our high right over 7 billion back a few months ago when we issued the 95 contract. Part of that is we have a lot of work that has been completed and gets off the books. What you'll see is that number will start ticking up again soon with a series of bridge lettings that are going out right now, but also we have the paving contracts start going out in September. So you'll start seeing our $700 million paving program start hitting the books in the coming year. So that'll resume going back up again. In terms of that construction program, it very much lines up with your 10-year plan that you'll be asked to update and reaffirm today next by Deputy Secretary McCotry, but really does align where your investment priorities are right now. So just kind of some highlights. The $2.2 billion have been put in towards our interstate capacity program. That really reflects, the annual $450 to $500 million that we put in towards the interstate program, but it also reflects the $600 million a few years ago the General Assembly gave us in terms of the American Rescue Plan dollars, as well as some one-time money that have really allowed us to accelerate a series of projects, particularly on I-26 and I-95. Our pavement program, which is about $700 million per year, just stands at about $2.1 billion in total committed contracts. And then you see our bridge program standing about $600 million. We do about $238 as our base budget for that. As y'all recall, last fiscal year and this current fiscal year we're in, we received $200 million appropriations, and you'll start seeing that first slug of $200 million worth of additional work we're doing is getting out on the street right now. And then obviously regional mobility and our safety programs to improve the operations of our system stand there consistent with our investment levels there. In terms of our on time, on budget, our statistics remain roughly the same as they were last month. 81% of our projects are on time, with 19% of them having penalties assessed. On our closeout values, we are coming in, the bid amounts are at $1.88 billion. The paid out is 1.8865, down 1.22%. So again, projects staying below budget and within the contingency amounts that we established for the projects. As required, though, we have a series of change orders that have occurred of over $250,000. I'll kind of point out some highlights, but answer any questions the commission have. On the first slide here on our design build projects that we have about $1 million change order on bridge package 20. So we have to change order in the water utilities when we do that relocation because the final design is not complete when we issue the contract. So this is incorporating the scope of the utility relocations for the city of Rock Hill. There's some additional work on the I-26 85 to 101 project here. That was really related. There's a Department of Public Safety way station in there and some changes that were asked to accommodate that way station for weight and size enforcement that they do. In terms of our bid build project, we have one here that I want to kind of highlight here, which is related to the I-85 preservation and Anderson and Oconee contracts. It's a pretty big number. One of the things that we're transitioning, and it's a good news, I think, from a transition on our program. So our interstate system recovery is at a point now that we are doing less full reconstruction projects. We still have a few of them left, but we are really moving into preservation projects where we're really just taking off that top layer of the first top 2 inches of the interstate. We're replacing the open grade friction course. It was a pavement type we used. Had some drainage features, but not always the best durability. We're replacing with stone matrix asphalt. One of the things that I think we've learned as we've been getting into this and lessons learned is that we really need, instead of having the public drive on the milled surface that risks, stones getting popped up or anything like that, we put down a temporary asphalt surface. And so that kind of lesson learned after we issued the contract, we added that to the scope of the contract to make sure that traveling public has basically a permanent surface, a temporary permanent surface to ride on than the intermediate course. There were 2 change orders here I wanted on this next slide here. The US 29 bridge rehabilitation in Greenville County. So that is the bridge in downtown Greenville, kind of where you get the skyline view of downtown Greenville if you're passing through. That bridge has a pretty substantial rehabilitation going on. It's already underway and will continue to be underway. We'll be doing a closure in next year that'll be doing the bridge deck. Basically, the bolts, the anchor bolts, we had anticipated replacing part of them. I think is between the design getting complete and work getting underway, we had additional deterioration. So we're asking basically to replace all of the anchor bolts on that bridge. The other one, and I'll ask Deputy Secretary Perry to help me if I add anything else here on that. The US 76 bridge replacement over the Wateree River. There were really two major issues that drove that fairly sizable change order. First is when we go into a project, we do a series of borings and samplings of the soil underneath that. And again, you trying to get the best placement of that where it is. But there is risk that you don't get exactly what the conditions are. And so as they were driving piles on that project, we realized that the soil conditions required and necessitated additional work on that as well. So that was part of that's on the DOT when that in our specs when the contractor has that. Second issue was not anticipated in anything related to the project, but Duke Energy lowered the levels of the Lake Wateree Dam during the construction project, which meant there was more water flowing down the Wateree River, which impacted the floating of their barges and their cranes there. And so that was, again, outside the scope of what the contractor is required under our contract terms that we have from there. We have had a series of emergency procurements that have occurred, mostly all related to bridge repairs. One I will highlight in Commissioner Christopher's district is the bridge replacement of SC 133 over Crow Creek. If y'all recall, we had a concrete truck pass over that bridge. The load posting on the bridge was for 30,000 pounds. Concrete truck, when empty, was 35,000 pounds. It came over with a full load of concrete. We have been able to, bridge was already on tap to be replaced. And so we were able to expedite the finalization of the design plans. So appreciate Duke Energy for expediting some permits that we needed to get done. Basically had plans. We had the construction is already underway. Because we were actually able to go back on alignment instead of building it off alignment, we saw pretty good savings from that. We were anticipating this project to be at $6 to $7 million. We've gotten it at $4.6 million going from there. Other one pointing out is the bridge repairs. We had an inspection finding on US 17 southbound over the South Santee River. So that's the border between Georgetown and Charleston. To avoid a load posting, we moved ahead with a series of repairs to make sure that critical freight route remains open during this time. In terms of our 10-year plan accomplishments, and obviously we will be talking about where we are in terms of our 10-year plan, but really does emphasize where we put our dollars with the results that come out. And you can see across the board, and we'll go in depth on each of them. 1,200 miles on our goal towards 1,300 miles on rural road safety. We now are just a shy under, and we'll be crossing 10,000 miles of paving since the 10-year plan began, which is nearly a quarter of our state highway system, 431 bridges, and 121 miles of interstate work. And I'll go in depth on those. In terms of our rural road safety work, at the last meeting, we had 1,176 miles of work underway. We have now gotten another 33 miles under construction since our last meeting in July. And again, your budget will reflect that this is statutorily required that we invest in the rural road safety program. So we have the $50 million that have been programmed. Last year, the General Assembly gave us an additional about $100 million. So we were actually able to increase our target, but well on our way to achieving our goal of adjusted goal of 1,300 miles. Overall, you'll be asked to vote on next fiscal year, $138 million of safety projects, inclusive of rural road safety, but our other projects elsewhere. But I think you're seeing the results, the safety statistics that I talked about earlier, but also on the project specifically on rural road safety, we've seen a 20% reduction in fatal and serious injury crashes. Our bridge program, we've added another 22 bridges since the July meeting. Your FY26 budget now is at $439 million, then our base at $238. Again, thanks to the one-time funding that we received from the General Assembly to accelerate bridge projects. You will see when Deputy Secretary McCottry talks, we are going to be requesting $300 million as opposed to the $200 million request in bridges. Part of that is, I think, just the need and what we've seen, but it's also a reflection When we've been doing the lettings, and Deputy Secretary Perry and I were reviewing the letting for the September letting that we opened last week, we continue to see very good response from the bridge contractors in terms of doing that. We're seeing 4, 5, 6 bids per bridge project that we believe, as this first $200 million is starting to get into the system, that they have the capacity and capability to deliver more bridge projects. Later on, Deputy Secretary McCutcheon will ask you to increase the target because of the $200 million from the General Assembly, to increase our bridge target from 530 bridges to 550 bridges. Our interstate program has 121 miles of projects either complete or underway across South Carolina. I think that we hit a major milestone back in August in terms of the groundbreaking for I-95, that first 8 miles coming into South Carolina, as well as the new Savannah River Bridge. But we got a series of major projects about to happen next. Lake Marion, we are opening price proposals next month on replacing the bridge structure between Orangeburg and Clarendon counties. Long Point Road, we've already initiated the procurement there that Kit Scott and Chris Gaskins talked to y'all about yesterday. We've initiated that procurement, good response from the industry, 6 firms. Teams put in, we've shortlisted to the top 3, and we will continue to move ahead, again, aiming to have an award in spring of next year. And then we are about to kick off the procurement on Carolina Crossroads Phase 3D, which is rebuilding the interchange between I-26 and I-126. Again, your budget, and you'll see this in there, higher than normal than the $450 and $500 million, but to reflect the additional investments that we've received from the federal government for both Long Point and the Lake Marion project, in terms of we move forward from there. But I think as y'all heard yesterday, we've got a $7 billion plus project on the 526 reconstruction. And I think the discussions we're having about funding and new tools for the General Assembly are going to be critical as we come forward in the modernization process. Our new gas tax trust fund, the funds that we received from Act 40 back in 2017, we have received $5.2 billion. Just a shade under that has been available for projects at $5 billion. We have already invested $5.3 billion into projects. So our active commitments that we have that have not been paid out are at $1.7 billion versus a cash balance of $1.3 billion. A good portion of that was Hurricane Helene expenses. So the debris cleanup that we've had, some of the repairs that we've had to make, were paid for out of the Infrastructure Trust Fund as a maintenance activity. We are awaiting federal reimbursement. I will say that is taking much longer than it historically does. So it's good that we did have some flexibility to deal with that storm. As required by law, the surplus property dispositions totaled $280,000. You'll see most of these were donations of routes, secondary routes that local governments were willing to take on. And finally, I think, we've talked a little bit about it, but some major accomplishments since our last meeting. First and foremost was the groundbreaking for I-95 in Jasper County. I want to thank Commissioner Blackwell, Commissioner Rhodes for joining us. It was Governor McMaster was there, Speaker Smith was there, the speaker in Georgia joined us, the commissioner of Georgia joined us as well. Great celebration, great attendance for a long-awaited project. We also kicked off in that event the Fix the Drive on 95 website. I think we've got not only the widening that we have on and the design that we have on widening I-95 up to exit 33, but we have hundreds of miles of paving project, major bridge projects happening. So kind of a one-stop source to kind of highlight all the activities we have on I-95 right now. And then last, I'll highlight, we had our Innovation Challenge Showcase. So this is run out of our materials lab down in Columbia, to highlight ways to encourage employees to come up with new and innovative solutions, some small, some big. We had 17 entries, 6 that were recognized, a better use of technology, better use of equipment. Big changes start with small steps. I think a reflection of just some of the neat ideas that our frontline workers are coming up every day. With that, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions the commission might have.
Thank you, Secretary Powell. Are there any questions for Secretary Powell? If not, we'll move into new business. The next item up is the 10-year plan revision. Deputy Secretary McCutcheon will present on this item.
morning, Good morning, Commissioners and Secretary Powell. Item 10.1, 10-year plan revision. Bottom line up front, this presentation will focus on the 10-year plan and budget update for 25-26 fiscal year. Major themes: $200 million for bridge modernization, $35 million for reimbursement of Helene costs incurred in FY 24-25, $175 million for the bridge investment program for the replacement of the I-95 bridge over Lake Marion, $195 million from the multimodal project discretionary grant for I-526 Long Point Road, as well as the required matching funds. Increase in the signing and pavement marking from $8.875 million to $15 million. Accomplishments through thus far utilizing the approved program investment levels. As Secretary Powell said, 1,209 miles of rural road safety treatments are underway. We have seen a 20% reduction in fatal and serious injury crashes. The 10-year goals for this program is 1,300 miles. 9,709 miles of paving underway, and work is being done in every county of the state. The bridge target is 530. 273 bridges have been completed, and 120 more have been advanced to construction. We will continue to make this a major focus as well as an area of additional investment. Work is underway on nearly every interstate in the state, 75 miles completed, 46 miles in construction, and 121 miles in design. Proposed updates to the 10-year plan. Thanks to the actions of the General Assembly, we received $200 million for bridge modernization. In July, the Commission approved adding the $200 million in one-time bridge funding the General Assembly provided to the fiscal year 25-26 budget. We hope we receive continued investment to the bridge program by the General Assembly so that we can ensure long-term mobility and freight movement in our state. We currently have 84 closed bridges, 739 load-restricted bridges. Closed and load-restricted bridges are just the tip of the iceberg, with an aging bridge inventory looming just underneath the surface. SCDOT was awarded $175 million from the Bridge Investment Program for the replacement of the I-95 bridge over Lake Marion. SCDOT was awarded $195 million from the multimodal project discretionary grant for the I-526 Long Point Road in 2024. So we are adding those funds, awards, and the associated matching funds to the consolidated plan to coincide with the project timelines for construction. Increase the signing and paving markings from $8.875 million to $15 million. This is a graphical representation of our funding acts and bills. Act 40 was implemented in 2017 and phased in an additional 2 cents per year increase to the gas tax for a total of 12 cents over a 6-year period. The last 2 cents were implemented in July of 2022. In November of 2021, the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act went into effect. It provides reauthorizations through federal fiscal year 2026. In fiscal year 2023, we received $453 million in ARPA funding and $133.6 million in state rural road funding. State rural interstate funding. This funding is being used on the interstate program. All of the major funding actions have been built into the 10-year plan, and that was previously approved by the Commission. This year, we are adding $200 million for bridges, $370 million for federal discretionary grants, and $92.5 million for state matches to the grant. This is a breakdown by millions. in annual funding for each program that makes up the graphic in the previous slide. The proposed changes and remaining investment levels are in the green shaded box. Pending any question, this is the motion we are requesting. This increase is based on what's already in pipeline. We're asking that, as Secretary Powell mentioned, that the number of bridges move from 530 to 550, and that's based on what's already in the pipeline.
There's a motion before us. We'll ask Commissioner Metcalf to read the motion.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Mr. McCautry, for the presentation. The secretary, I would make the following motion that the secretary is directed to adjust the 10-year plan and statewide transportation improvement plan to add the anticipated state and federal funds to increase existing program levels. Additionally, that the secretary recommends to increase the performance target for bridges to 550 bridges.
Heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Hearing no opposition, continue plan. The next item of new business is the fiscal year 26-27 budget submission. Deputy Secretary McCautry will present this item.
All right, item 10.2, FY 26-27 budget submission. Bottom line up front, this covers how we align the 10-year plan to our state budgeting process. Major themes: state revenues are stagnant in all four categories. It is growing, but not keeping up with inflation or population growth. We have projected roughly $1 billion per year in the federal funding, and our expenditures have also been updated to reflect the same proposed changes. The budget also includes funding and expenditures for the Low Country Bus Rapid Transit and the discretionary grants project. Estimated revenues for 26-27 are $3.21 billion. The gray portion of the pie chart represents the federal funding, which includes the IJA funding, $1 billion, for our construction program, as well as our transit funding, $28 million. The yellow portion is our state funding, which includes IMTF, highway fund, non-federal aid, and general fund revenue. This funding is used as a match to our federal aid program and also pays for our state maintenance and operating activities. Partner projects: this is funding from other entities to fund projects that SCDOT manages, such as local sales tax programs. Typically, our partner projects represent about 2% or $62 million of the overall program. The construction phase of the Low Country Bus Rapid Transit project is scheduled to begin this year, and we need to request contract authority of $150 million to cover the estimated contractor payments, so that total is included in this figure. This slide outlines how we plan to spend our state and federal revenues. The green section is for maintenance and system preservation, heavy focus on field operations and resurfacing. Our bridge program is also included in this budget. Capacity and operational investments are reflected in the yellow section. This budget item includes our widening, regional mobility, and safety programs. Typically, we invest about 50% of our funding in maintenance and system preservation and 38% in capacity and operations. The shift reflected this year that resulted in an increase in capacity and operation is due to the LCRT and discretionary grant projects. The gray section houses our remaining operations. Our federal fund requests, our general fund requests. Continuation of $120 million in recurring funds to match federal aid program. Requesting $300 million, as Secretary Powell said earlier, in recurring funds for our bridge program to ensure long-term mobility and freight movement. Requesting $25 million recurring for a buyback Turnback Voluntary Road Transfer Program with the goal of right-sizing the state highway system. 5.1 million for payment to PRT for Proviso 117.100 for the maintenance of the welcome centers. Requesting $5 million in recurring funds for off-interstate litter pickup, which follows the non-recurring appropriation we received in previous years.
Mr. Chairman, to interrupt Carl, I wanted, if you could go back, Carl, one of the things that we have, just to kind of summarize here, one of the things that we have heard quite a bit in the modernization process, and I think has been a topic of discussion, has been the size of the state highway system. You know, if you hear that we to say we're the fourth largest state highway system in the country, and really only North Carolina, Virginia, and Texas have bigger systems that we do. So one of the things we had attempted it a few years ago, and I don't think it worked as well as we had hoped on it, was to do a buyback program. We're going to ask for funding to bring that back. There's a proviso that Carl will talk about in a minute, but I think it's out there. We hear there's some appetite from the local governments on it, but I think kind of to test it out. You always, for comparison, when you compare us to some other states, when you look at our friends in Georgia, it's about a 17,000 mile system. When you look at our friends in Tennessee, it's about a 14,000 mile system. When you talk about Florida, which is often a point of comparison for us, they have a 12,000 mile system. So a large number of secondary roads. Again, I don't think we can do a wholesale devolution to everybody, but for those local governments that are interested, we wanted to at least put this out there as an option for the General Assembly to consider.
For our proviso requests, we would like to recommend deletion of Proviso 117-100 for the payment of $1.5 million to PRT for the maintenance of the welcome centers, and instead request that this become a recurring general fund appropriation. We also would like to request the addition of a road buyback program proviso to create, as Secretary Powell just said, a voluntary road transfer program with the goal of right-sizing our highway system. This is the proviso language we will be requesting if approved by the commission.
And just to kind of echo, it's a lot of words, so we won't go through all of them. But when the last time it was attempted, one of the things that came up was we had some communities wanting primary routes, which are roads that we would not devolve back because those are kind of statewide interest. We also had communities that were interested in taking on roads, maybe not because they wanted it, but because they wanted the money that came out of that. And so I think it's important for us to have kind of like, let's be clear on what could be transferred over, and have that kind of transparently put out there before we go into any process if funded by the General Assembly. There was back in 2018 and 19, there was an effort, but what ended up, and it was under former Secretary Hall. But what happened is we had situations where roads that we weren't going to delegate back were put on the list, and then we had some real concerns about some of the smaller municipalities of 500 to 1,000 people that don't have a public works department asking to take on all the roads in their jurisdiction. It was clear they were more interested in addition, the one-time funding cash than actually being able to maintain those roads.
This is a snapshot of the CTC program, which reflects the 3.99 cents of gas tax that is distributed to each county for their appropriation. This funding is allocated based on 1/3 of land area, 1/3 of population, 1/3 of rural road mileage outside of a municipality, and 33% of the funding must go to state roads. Pending any questions, this is the motion we are requesting.
We've got a motion before us for consideration. Commissioner Metcalf, will you read the motion, please?
Sure, absolutely. I'd like to make the following motion that based on the forecasted revenues and expenditures as presented, that would recommend approval of the proposed $3.21 billion budget authority request for the state fiscal year of 2026-27. Also, that staff is directed to proceed with preparing the necessary submittals and under authority of the Secretary of Transportation, adjusting the budget as necessary to account for variances between forecast and actuals.
Got a motion, is there a second? Second, is there any discussion? Mr. Barrett?
Yes, sir. I'm going to approve the budget, and I appreciate Secretary Powell and Deputy Secretary McCautry talking to me. I have total faith in the staff. I'm just a little concerned about the process. I mean, we got the general line item information 5 minutes before the workshop. 4 weeks later, we're voting to approve the budget. And we're talking 3.2 million, not to mention all the work in process. Just compared to the county when I was chair, we dealt with a general fund of maybe 100 million and then pennies thrown in, 400 million, so $500 million. This is six times more than that, but yet we would start having discussions in February, 2 workshops along the way till our first vote in June. And then, of course, I realize we can't do it at the state level this way, but then we'd have 3 readings before the final decision was done on the budget. So I just asked of Carl and Secretary that possibly next year, after the General Assembly makes their decision, which I realize that can draw out some, in May, that can we start to get kind of skeletal numbers to start framing the process, and then July have some more detailed numbers, and then at the workshop kind of getting it really finalized, so we have a couple months to just really ask questions, look at it, especially this time of year, family vacations or whatever's going on, and you're kind of under the gun in a month. So I think the staff is understanding of my request and want to try to accommodate it the best they can. Just the longer we have time to look at it, I mean, if we're going to have this responsibility, and I've always been known as kind of a line item hawk in my days on the county, and I was very satisfied with all the explanations. I just think we need a little bit more time to really vet it.
Okay, your comments are duly noted and will obviously be considered. We got a motion on the table. We've had, we're down to the discussion part. We need a vote. All in favor of the motion? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing no opposition, the fiscal year 26-27 budget submission is approved. The next item on the agenda is changes to the state highway system. Deputy Secretary McCautry will also present on this item.
Item 10.3, changes to the state highway system. Request commission approval of the additions, deletions, and revisions to the state highway system as shown on the attached pages, and authorize the convey rights of ways, to the appropriate entities. This request includes 46 sections of the secondary road system, resulting in a reduction to the secondary system of 3.191 center line miles, equating to 6.382 lane miles. This ends my request for approval.
Hey, does anybody have any questions or revisions to item 10.3? Is there a motion to approve changes to the state highway system?
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Hearing no opposition, the changes to the state highway system are approved. Thank you, Mr. McCautry. The next item on the agenda is the 21-day public comment period. We'll ask Deputy Secretary Quattlebaum to present on this item.
Good morning. In section 10.4, we're requesting approval to initiate a 21-day public comment period and to amend the STIP to include the following projects. The first project is $13,102,500 from the Surface Transportation Block Grant Program, which will be allocated towards PE right-of-way and construction for the replacement of US 17A Bridge over SCL Railroad and S1 in Hampton County. SCDOT certifies that this bridge is closed, which is consistent with the commission policy to automatically advance and rank this project as a high priority project. The second item is $11,430,563 for PE right-of-way and construction for the Speedway Local Access Road project in Pickens County. This project includes improvements at the intersection of SC 124, Croswell School Road, and SC 123 to allow safer access to the industrial park. The Appalachian Regional Commission is funding $8.5 million of it, and the remaining is locally funded. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Is there a motion to approve the item 10, the 21-day public comment period? Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Hearing no opposition, 10.4, 21-day public comment period is approved. Next item of new business is 10.5, revision of the 2025 to 2033 STIP highway portion. Deputy Secretary Quattlebaum will present on this item.
In section 10.5, we're requesting approval for the revision of the 2024 to 2033 statewide transportation improvement program to include 11 items and the removal of one item. These reside in the Chats MPO, Central Midlands COG, and Coates MPO regions, totaling $7.325 million in regional mobility program funding and $205.2 million in federal grants. The inclusion items are as follows. $1.2 million in Federal Railroad Administration Railroad Crossing Elimination Grant funds that was awarded to the city of North Charleston for the Rivers Avenue Grade Separation Planning Study. This is in the Chats MPO region. The second item is $1.5 million in regional mobility program funding for PE and right-of-way phases of work for SC 61 Complete Streets corridor improvements. This project will include a shared use path that will extend from US 17A to SC 165 in Dorchester County. The next item is $5.66 million in regional mobility program funding for PE, PL right-of-way and construction phases of work for the following projects in Central Midlands COG. We have $4.3 million in PE and right-of-way for 4 intersection improvements in the city of Newberry. This will be part of a SIB application. The intersections include US 76 at Adelaide Street, US 76 at Main Street, US 76 at Winsboro Road, and Winsboro Road and Mount Bethel Garmany Road. The next item is $240,000 in the construction phase of work for signal improvements at the intersection of Wilson Road and Whitener Road in Newberry County. The next item is $960,000 in the construction phase of work for signal improvements at the intersections of Wilson Road and Walmart entrance, Kynard Road, Pender Ridge Road, and Walter Cousins Lane in the city of Newberry. The next item is $800,000 for the PL phase of work for an intersection improvement at Boundary Street and Kendall Street in Newberry County. And the next item is another $800,000 in the PE phase of work for an intersection improvement at Congress Street and Washington Street in Fairfield County. The next item is $240,000 in regional mobility program funding for the PL phases of work for 3 intersection improvements in the Coates MPO region. The intersections are located at Old Barnwell Road and Ermine Road, Sausage Lane, and White Knoll Road in Lexington County. One item is being removed from this area, $750,000 in regional mobility program funding for the PL phase of work for the intersection improvement at South Lake Drive and Old Barnwell Road in Lexington County. This is also in the Coates MPO region. This project is being removed due to the lack of purpose and need to really support the implementation of the project. And the last item I have is $204 million in another FRA railroad crossing elimination grant funds that was awarded to the City of Columbia for the Assembly Street Railroad Separation Project in the Coates MPO region. And that concludes what I have. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Okay, does anyone have any questions about our,
Mr. Chairman, just
Okay.
one question. Did you say the Newberry projects were tied to a SIB application or the project before that?
It's the Newberry intersections.
Okay, thank you.
does anyone else have any questions about our revisions to item 10.5? Is there a motion to approve item 10.5 revisions to the 2025 to 2033 STIP for highway items? Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Hearing no opposition. 10.5 revision to the 2025-2033 STIP highway portion is approved. The next item of new business is item 10.6, revision of the 2025 to 2033 STIP transportation portion. Deputy Secretary Necker will present on this item.
Yes, thank you. I have several items for inclusion into the 2024-2033 STIP for the FTA program. All of these are for areas that are in the kind of large and small urbanized areas of the state. So the first item is in the Coates area. It is specifically using funding for their enhanced mobility for seniors and individuals with disabilities program. The first item is a capital project where they have suballocated funds to the Babcock Center to purchase 4 ADA passenger vehicles. And this purchase will be made in FY26. They've also programmed funding for the Central Midlands RTA, which you may know as COAST, for capital funds and also in FY26. Next, we have inclusion for the Greenville area for Greenville Transit Authority / Greenlink. This actually amends to increase their partial apportionment to a full apportionment for their FY25 for their section 5307, which is for their operations program. And they will use that for operations, capital, and also this will also increase their FY23 and program funds for their bus and bus facilities for FY25. The next one is also the inclusion for the Malden-Simpsonville area. They are considered a small urban area by the FTA. They will use their funding for operations and capital. This also amends them to take them from their partial apportionment to their full apportionment. They intend to use this the majority of their funds are going to be used for capital, but they will use some for operating. We have an inclusion for the Greenville GPATS area. They are also amending their partial apportionment to their full apportionment. They will use this funding for nonprofit transportation, specifically for that enhanced mobility of seniors and individuals with disabilities program. And finally, we have the PD Regional Transit Authority, the PD RTA. They have an amendment to their for their FY24 section 5307. Once again, they're a small urban area to take that to FY26 for capital expenses and operational expenses. And that concludes my presentation, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions about or revisions to item 10.6? Is there a motion to approve item 10.6, revisions to the 2025-2033 STIP for transportation? Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. Hearing no opposition, item 10.6, revision to the 2025 through 33 step for transportation portion is approved. Next item up for new business is item 10.7, ratification of extensions presented by Deputy Perry.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the commission, Secretary Powell. I also want to thank Representative Brewer for taking time to come and welcome us to the Holy City. Always good to see him. I know he's a busy man. We're on the home stretch here. We've got 10 extensions for you to ratify today, going from July 2nd all the way through August 20th. 6 are pavement related. I think we've talked before that if we see the pavement's crumbling and we've got an active contract close by, we'll usually do an extension again to clean that up. So 6 are pavement related, 3 are bridges, and 1 is a sidewalk. I want to point out the one on I-77 over a secondary road. It was very similar to what one of the change orders that Secretary Powell talked about. We had some anchor bolts shear off when we did a routine inspection. And typically when the anchor bolts go or the bearings freeze up, it's because expansion joints have gone and water gets down on the steel and starts to corrode. So not only did we fix the anchor bolts, we fixed the bearings and we fixed the joints. So hopefully we're not coming back for another extension anytime soon for an interstate route. And the other one of note is it was a primary route bridge where we had to do some pile repairs, again, trying to make sure we're not posting bridges if we can get ahead of them and do repairs quickly, whether it be our forces or our contractors. So it's $5.9 million over the 10 extensions. And I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission may have. And if not, I respectfully request ratification of these 10 extensions.
Okay. Is there a motion for approval on item 10.7, ratification of extensions?
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Hearing no opposition, the ratification of extensions is approved. Thank you for presenting, Deputy Perry. Next item up is old business. Is there any old business?
We have no old business for consideration, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I call on my fellow commissioners for their comments. We'll start with Commissioner Christopher.
Well, thank you to Charleston County and Mount Pleasant and the city of Charleston for welcoming us to the area. It's beautiful, Chairman. I know why you reside here. It's a great place, and we appreciate everything you've done to make it very hospitable for us as well. So wonderful time here. Just very impressed too with the Ports Authority. Like to see how we are really partnering together and continue to see that. It's nice to see it, envision it here while we're here today. So I'm excited about our plan that we're going to have afterwards with a little tour. I also want to do a shout out to our former commissioner, Mr. Fishburne, which was a hero for I-95 and really championed that as well. So I did want to make sure I said that to you. Representative Brewer, so nice to see you here as well. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Metcalf.
Good, thank you. I can only echo what fellow Commissioner Christopher said, and to the warm welcome to the Low Country area, and Mount Pleasant and Charleston, and getting to see our old friend Barnwell Fishburne. And I know you'll do great things with the Ports Authority Board. And Gary, always good to see you, and know you're going to bat for us on transportation projects and involved in the modernization committee. Not much to add. It's, there's a lot of projects. There's so much activity going on. So compliments to the staff for keeping us informed on that. And moving forward with the request that we have with the General Assembly. And I would just say, please let the commissioners know how we can help with those efforts as we get ready for the 2026 legislative year.
Okay. Commissioner Spencer.
Yes, thank you. Chairman, thank you for hosting our camp meeting down here in Mount Pleasant. We've had a good time and good, everything's just turned out great. And former Commissioner Barnwell, glad to see you, and thank you for coming. Just wanted to point out a productive meeting yesterday, an informative meeting. Deputy Secretary Necker gave a great presentation on the Low Country rapid transit, and that's exciting. It's big, bold plans,
And thank you for all your hard work on that. Only to be trumped by the 526 east and west plans. And that's exciting. And it's kind of like some relief coming to Berkeley County, Charleston, Mount Pleasant. And Chris Gaskins and Kit Scott did a great job. Kit, you did a great job presentation on that. Thank you. Continue that hard work. I know you got a lot of time wrapped up in it, and it's going to be a super project. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Commissioner Hemingway?
Well, I guess it's one of the two new kids on the block
Recently, we get called on last and all of the great comments have been made. I would like to observe or share an observation. My wife and I traveled over 8,300 miles during 6 week period during the summer. And we had the opportunity to see a lot of roads. And I can tell you, despite the fact that we have a disproportionate inventory of roads, we do a comparatively great job to some of the roadways that I travel over. I was glad to get back to some of our roadways. So I commend the staff and the leadership for the work that's been done and the aggressive plan that we have laid out before us. Look forward to a lot of improvements.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioner Blackwell?
Per what Sal said, I guess being the last, I would like to say it's always nice to come to Charleston, but I really don't have any more to add. It's been covered.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to echo the comments of all the other commissioners and once again, thank Mayor Haney, Representative Brewer, and Phil Paget for hosting us here. You know, it's been quite an experience and enjoyable. We thank the staff for the efforts they had to put this together. Susan, thank you. You know, as we can see, we've got a lot of moving pieces on our plates. And we, once again, as usual, want to thank the staff for, executive staff especially, for your leadership and your guidance in bringing us through this process. So your efforts are noted, and we thank you for that. With that said, the next item on the agenda is to be discussed in executive session. It's going to be held pursuant to South Carolina Code 30-4-70A2 to discuss contractual matters related to project agreements on I-77. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Hearing no opposition, the commission will now go into executive session. I'll ask all DOT commissioners and the following personnel to go to the executive boardroom, I think, which is right, the door to the left here, back in the back there. We'll ask Secretary Powell, Chief of Staff Hutto, Deputy Secretary Perry, Deputy Secretary Quattlebaum, Deputy Secretary McCautry, and Chief Counsel Wessinger to go with us. And all other personnel should step outside of the room. Is the recorder off? Recorder's off. Thank you, Will.
Mr. Chairman, I'm ready.
All right. I'll ask the question again. Is there a motion in executive session for the purpose of discussing contractual matters?
So moved.
Still second?
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Hearing no opposition, the commission will now end the executive session for the purpose of discussing contractual matters. Recorder's back on. We're back in open session. No votes were taken in executive session. Nor did the commission commit itself to any course of action. Following our discussion on I-77, I'll call on Secretary Powell to read the following proposed motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The proposed motion reads as follows. The commission finds that the upcoming I-77 South Express Lanes project being pursued by the North Carolina Department of Transportation intends to add capacity to the North Carolina side of I-77 between the South Carolina border and uptown Charlotte. As a result of that initiative, the commission finds that the I-77 South Lane Express Lanes project will have significant engineering considerations to the operation of I-77 on both sides of the border. The commission finds that in a safe and efficient cross-border operations is a significant engineering consideration necessary to avoid future delays and congestion as a result of improvements occurring on I-77 in North Carolina, absent coordination or improvement to South Carolina segment of I-77. The commission finds that York County, in conjunction with the State Transportation Infrastructure Bank, is pursuing an improvement to exit 90 approximately 2,000 feet from the North Carolina border, and that North Carolina's I-77 South Express Lanes project will require extensive coordination with the exit 90 project. Pursuant to South Carolina Regulation 6310C2 and consistent with the aforementioned findings, the commission authorizes the Secretary of Transportation to add the I-77 improvements to the statewide transportation improvement program to improve capacity, mobility, and operations on I-77 between exit 88 and the North Carolina border, necessary for safe and efficient cross-border operations with the North Carolina Department of Transportation's I-77 Express Lanes project. The project will also consider operational deficiencies for interchanges and bridges within the corridor, including exit 90. Furthermore, the Secretary of Transportation is authorized to negotiate any and all agreements with the North Carolina Department of Transportation, the South Carolina State Transportation Infrastructure Bank, and York County to effectuate improvements necessary to facilitate safe and efficient operations in I-77 at the North Carolina-South Carolina border. The commission further moves that this motion is published in the minutes of the commission as a written justification required by SC Regulation 6310C2.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions about or revisions to the motion? Is there a motion to approve the I-77 partnership?
So moved as read.
Second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Hearing no opposition, the I-77 partnership motion is approved. Next item is a motion for adjournment. Is there a motion?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Hearing no opposition, the commission meeting of September 18th, 2025 is adjourned at 10:45 a.m. The next commission meeting is scheduled for December 4th, 2025 in Columbia. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you.
We're adjourned. We did it.